The U.S. and Russia now disputing who exactly Russia is targeting in Syria. Russia claims it's going after ISIS. U.S. officials say there is no evidence of that. Secretary of State John Kerry, meanwhile, chalking it all up to technical differences. He and his Russian counterpart trying to put the best face on it.
We agreed that the military should get into contact with each other very soon.
We agreed on the imperative of as soon as possible, perhaps even as soon as tomorrow, but as soon as possible.
We all want Syria democratic, united, secular, but we have some differences as for the details on how to get there. But we agreed on some steps.
Ambassador John Bolton is a former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute and Fox News contributor. Thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here.
Multiple sources tell Fox that Russia is actually targeting Syrian rebels who are backed by the U.S. who are fighting against the Assad regime. Is this a proxy war?
Well, I think what Putin is trying to do is strengthen Assad, and Assad has many enemies, including the moderate Syrian opposition as well as ISIS and al-Qaeda. So I think what they're doing is, in these initial 2 days of strikes, going after the people who are the most immediate threat to Assad to try and clear that up. I don't doubt that later they might go after ISIS, but their objectives have never been the same as the United States. Putin is pursuing a very broad strategy, I think bidding for dominance in the Middle East over the United States. And there's a lot at stake here that goes well beyond the exact target of these airstrikes.
Yeah. Secretary of State John Kerry last week speaking at the United Nations said that Russian planes are in Syria simply for force protection. Let's listen to that.
For the moment, it is the judgment of our military and most experts that the level and type represents basically force protection, a level of protection for their deployment to an airbase, given the fact that it is in an area of conflict.
Well, he also says we really just have technical differences with Russia. What do you make of all that?
Look, the comment on force protection was inane when he said it. It essentially amounts to a statement that we inserted the force protection force to protect itself. Obviously, there was something going on, and the complete blindness of the administration was reflected in their confusion over these past 2 days when these airstrikes began. This is a long way from force protection. I'm afraid that the administration has already moved to legitimize this Russian military presence in Syria. We've tried for 70 years to minimize the Russian/Soviet presence, particularly their military presence. Now the Russians have an air base near Israel's northern frontier, something they've wanted for a long time, and this administration appears to be acquiescing in it.
You know, Reuters is now reporting that Russia is coming out saying, look, we are coordinating what we're doing right now with the Pentagon. Well, of course, we have heard Defense Secretary Ashton Carter say, well, yeah, now we're coordinating with them because we don't want their planes to hit our planes when we're all up there together. But that doesn't mean this is a coordinated effort.
Well, they came in and told us, and, you know, we had a joke about this diplomatically when somebody says, are you informing me or consulting me? We were informed. I think it would be a mistake to get into any kind of deconfliction process with the Russians, because that implies they are legitimately there. You know, in the first Gulf War, Israel wanted deconfliction codes with our planes so that they could fly, and we said no to Israel because we wanted them on the ground. Our position should be we want these Russian planes on the ground or out of there. If we agree to deconfliction procedures with them, we are legitimizing their role in the Middle East. I think it would be a huge setback for the United States and its friends.
Well, what can we do now?
Well, I think what we should say is we are in control of the airspace over Syria. You will fly when we let you fly. And if you come up in the face of that, any incident in the air is your responsibility. We have got to show that friend and foe alike in the region that the United States is not completely withdrawn. This is part of a larger strategy. Russia's pursued arms sales to Egypt, arms sales to Iran, probing and prying all across the region. Our friends are tearing their hair out, the Israelis, the Gulf Arabs. They see power passing from our hands to the Russians and maybe later the Chinese, part of this alliance that Putin has put together with Assad, Iran, Hezbollah,
and they're sharing
the Baghdad
intel.
government. Absolutely. This is an extraordinarily serious problem. These past 3 days have been very historic and not good for America.
All right, a lot more to talk about on that. We have to leave it there, though. Ambassador John Bolton, thank you as always.
Thank you.